Okay, OBS is running. Is YouTube going? Okay, YouTube has found the stream. Okay. I think we're going. How you doing, Daniel?
I am good. How about you?
Oh, I'm all right. I gave myself my usual half hour to get the stream up and running. And so what happened was there was an update for OBS. So, of course, I went, okay, yeah, I'll update. Yeah, you want to keep your software up to date. And the update broke everything.
That's kind of how I had actually a similar experience with Crunchyroll this morning.
I've got everything back but the camera. I don't know why I don't have the camera.
I never had a very good cam anyway.
Well, I tried it both directly with the USB camera and through XSplit VCam. And XSplit VCam is seeing the camera, but it's still not showing up in OBS, so I don't know what's going on. But anyway, so this will be audio only, and it looks like no dropped frames so far, so that's a good thing. I like not having dropped frames. So how you been doing, Daniel? It's been a while.
I've been good.
Good to hear.
Just spending some time with family, helping out on that front.
Oh, that's good.
Helping some friends with stuff.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like Chris will be able to make it in tonight, so you might be able to get in to Word Edgewise.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And doing counseling, like I mentioned earlier, off stream.
Cool. I might sit down with this when I've got time and figure out if it's working. And if it's working, I might do another live stream on Odyssey or over on Rumble. I planted my flag on Rumble soon after it launched. I hadn't really done much of it until recently. They added on the thing where all of my YouTube videos can be copied over to Rumble. And so that happened, and so you can still, view all my YouTube videos over there. But I haven't really done anything on the site as far as, live streaming or anything like that, or really checking it out to see what it's all about.
I've never really messed with that. Actually, one other thing happened. A lot of it's kind of stuff I can't talk about directly, I don't think.
Okay.
But I've been doing some work on a volunteer basis for a friend of mine who started a publishing company.
Cool. What's he publishing?
Kind of mostly world building and crossover fiction.
Okay.
Like this big crossover setting, sort of like Marvel and DC's crossover Earth.
Yeah.
But a lot of
the licensing on that is really challenging, though.
Yeah, that's why it's a lot of the published fiction, like the stuff that's sold, doesn't directly allude to anything.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of the background lore will be available freely on the wiki.
I just remember all the problems they had with Disney trying to do Who Framed Roger Rabbit and getting like the Disney characters and the Warner Brothers characters, and there's a couple Fleischer Brothers characters as well. And Warner Brothers loved it and thought it was great. Disney was the one that was really giving them hell, and so that's why they ended up having to go through Amblin Entertainment, because Amblin was owned by Disney, and so that way they could get the Disney characters. And even then, just trying to get like one of the things that Robert Zemeckis was complaining about, the when Roger is in the theater, laughing at how wacky the cartoon is. It's a goofy cartoon that is not at all wacky, and they were going to show a Tex Avery cartoon, which MGM was on board with, but Disney was like, no, if you show a cartoon, it has to be a Disney cartoon. And they're like, but Disney cartoons aren't wacky. And they went through hours and hours and hours of Disney cartoons to get the wackiest one they could find.
You know what? That makes me mad.
Gotta love Droopy.
Sorry. Yeah, you said Tex Avery, and that immediately came to mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they had Droopy in the movie, too. They had a lot of the MGM and Tex Avery. They didn't have Screwy Squirrel, but they mentioned it by name.
And of course, Screwy Squirrel is an underrated classic.
Oh my God, he's great.
Like, I saw a few cartoons, like a few of those old cartoons way back when I would stay up late to catch the classics.
Yeah.
And like that was the funniest stuff I'd ever seen.
Oh my God.
And of course there was the infamous Donald and Daffy Duck scene.
Oh yeah. That was a lot to try to convince Disney to do that. That and the scene with Bugs and Mickey together. They didn't want Mickey to be seen doing anything mean.
Huh.
And of course, Bugs' whole thing is being mean.
Which is funny because, like, Mickey's done some pretty questionable stuff over the years.
Yeah.
If you really get down to it.
All right, not seeing anyone in the chat except you and Rika. Pronounce that for me.
Rika X Nipa.
Rika.
She's a close friend.
Yeah, I saw she came in with you before we started.
Hi, Rika.
Usually we got a few other people in the chat by now. I don't know where they all got to.
Please stay with us. We're relying on you for our viewership.
She's our one viewer. How many viewers do we have? Oh, I'm getting dropped frames. Oh, come on.
Oh, Mr. No.
Oh, hey, Mr. No. I'm here too, trying to think what to talk about. Well, that's okay. So are we. Sometimes that's the entire live stream.
Oh, I'll tell you who also been doing a lot of listening to. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Sitch and Adam.
Who?
Sitch and Adam.
Sentient Adam?
Sitch and Adam. That's
Sitch
Sierra.
And Adam. Okay, yeah, I don't know that.
Sierra Indio Tango Charlie Hotel.
Okay, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, ever since Dad started flying, I became fluent. Hi, Sid.
Sid, how you doing? Podcast run by Adam Friended and PSA Sitch. Yeah, I don't know any of those people.
The question, Sid, is, are you A team or S class?
I don't know what you kids are talking about these days. Why can't you watch the classic? Watch a Henry Fonda or a Bogey movie or something.
Oh, God.
That was the days when men were like real men should be, skinny as a rail.
My publisher gets the same way as far as being a boomer. He mostly deals in old pulp radio.
Yeah. Jimmy Stewart and Frankie and people like that, didn't have a stitch of fat on them. Didn't have a single muscle. It's all they were skin and bones, and that's what real men should be.
Well, I guess by that definition, I'm quite a real man.
It's just interesting how the styles change.
That's actually something Leanna goes into a lot. Like the changing definitions of these, like changing connotations.
Yeah. Well, like how women used to be all curvy and everything, and now they have to be skinny as a rail. And
yeah.
Just the way things change. I mean, the thing is, a lot of people say that, oh, it's just, Hollywood or magazines or whoever forcing a body style on people. No, they're giving people what they want. People just, over time decided that skinnier on women was more attractive than curves, and so they were just giving people what they wanted, and now things start to be going the other way. And
there may be some evolutionary psychology at play as well.
Well, the theory is that there are two things at play. One is wealth, and the other is discipline. So, like if you were fat like back in the day, like those Rubens women, the only way you'd be fat back then is if you were rich. So okay, that would have been
extremely desirable.
Yeah. So as time goes on, now we got calories out the wazoo. Now, being skinny means that you're more disciplined because you're surrounding all this fat, and fat is being more and more associated with poor people. And guys like back, I was talking about like the 40s and 50s and movies like that, guys who were muscular were seen as like, working classes, miners and things like that, and, low status people. And the skinny, non-muscular guys were the rich ones because they could afford not to have a job where they did that. And now, again, the poor people are associated with, being overweight, and also all these low-paying jobs don't require as much physicality to them. So now muscle is associated with like discipline and going to the gym and working out and things like that. So, yeah.
Or if you're a JoJo protagonist.
I don't get why these fat shaming people hating Sports Illustrated when skinny models wouldn't be on the cover as well. Emphasis on Sports Illustrated. Yep, that's true. Now, why does this thing never keep my settings the way I want them? All right, that looks better. All right. Yep, Sports Illustrated. Well, and someone posted a meme. I don't remember if it was in one of the Discords or what, but it was it was either a modeling catalog or selling underwear or something like that. And they had the women and the men, and the women were all, plus size, and the guys were all, skinny and muscular and ripped and everything. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah. Everyone has it. Rule 36. If it exists, it is someone's fetish.
Well, yeah, but it's just interesting the way they are kind of like, oh, we have to be politically correct and do the plus size because we put, skinny ones on there, then we're sexist or whatever. But the guys, they can still do the completely unrealistic muscular stuff.
Yeah, you can still perfectly objectify the guys.
Sure. We don't mind. And I mean, they talk about like, how, they look at, a skinny woman or a woman who looks good in a bikini in the models and magazines and everything. And they feel all, inadequate and inferior and everything. It's like, if you're being made to feel inadequate by a picture, then you need to work out your issues.
Yeah. Actually, Leanna has a whole thing, gaze theory.
A what?
A whole thing railing against gaze theory. Like the whole like male gaze thing.
Yeah.
Like she has a whole bone to pick with that. And she brings up Emmett Till.
And Emmett, I know the name. Oh God, was he the lynching victim?
Yes.
Yeah. My brain is trying to grab the details on him, and I can't. I know the story, but I can't pull it out right now.
Yeah, that might be something interesting to talk about as a launch pad.
What's that?
The Emmett Till stuff.
I'd have to bone up on it.
Hmm.
I've been for the quickies. I've been doing a lot of Supreme Court stuff, and there's some bad ones coming up. Oh man!
Oh,
if you want to feel better about our present day Supreme Court, watch a couple of the previous quickies and the ones that got coming up. Oh my!
Oh, I showed Missouri v. Biden around. That stuff was insane.
Yeah. But I'm talking like the ones that were passed in like the Progressive era, the Prohibition era, and then on into the Depression era. Oh God, those were just some. But that was a terrible few decades as far as the Supreme Court was concerned.
None of those eras sound pleasant.
No. You done a quickie on the gun show loophole? No, that's not a bad one though. I'm not exactly sure where the myth comes from, because I know the misunderstanding is that if like I'm hanging out, with my friend, and I give him a gun, or I sell him a gun, just as one guy to another. We can just do that because, we're not actually dealers, not actually customers or anything. Just, hey, I kind of like that thing. Okay, I'll take $200 for it. Okay, sounds good, and that kind of thing. But that has nothing to do with gun shows. People who sell firearms at gun shows still need to be licensed.
Oh, you wouldn't have heard of any of this, but there were some controversies on the Nexus network of sites.
Oh yeah, I'm not familiar with that.
They're like a hub for hosting game mods.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a whole mess there.
So like, what was one of them?
Basically, they uploaded a mod that a mod for Spider-Man that replaced the rainbow flag with the U.S. flag.
Okay, yeah, I haven't played Spider-Man, so they have to tell me how the rainbow flag figures in.
It displays during June in the game, like on some buildings.
Okay. So they just had it in the game like at random.
Well, not at random, just whenever Pride Month rolls around.
Oh, okay. So they were like Pride Month celebrations and they were showing the flag. So someone made a mod changing it to the U.S. flag.
Yeah.
Okay. And they didn't like that?
Yeah, the guy got banned.
Banned for the U.S. flag. I mean, if it had been the Confederate flag, I could see it. It still would have been stupid, but, people... But why the U.S. flag?
I think it was less that it was the U.S. flag, and I'm a bit more suspicious that it's what it was replacing.
Oh, just because they took out the... Because they took out the pride flag.
Yeah, Short Fat Otaku does a whole thing on it.
But I mean, was the pride flag like woven into the story or anything, or was it just kind of there?
It was just there.
Okay. So then that was dumb.
Yeah, and then And then a few weeks later, someone uploaded mods for Fallout 3. And I gotta applaud Nexus for being consistent. And I'll go into it later.
Okay. Here's a thought that might freak a lot of people out. Because you know the Gadsden flag? The rattlesnake and don't tread on me.
Yeah.
And you know there's a version of it where it has the red and white stripes in the background. Do that, only the pride flag with don't tread on me over it. I wonder,
that sounds
I wonder how many people would pass out from the cognitive dissonance over that.
Oh, that reminds me of something Lilith posted. She thought it would be funny if she took one of those cards. Because Lilith Lovett is trans, right?
Who is?
Lilith Lovett.
Yeah, not sure who you're talking about again.
She's a kind of this libertarian trans creator.
Okay.
And she thought it would be funny if she took one of those cards that said a trans person peed here and no one was hurt.
Yeah.
And put it on Karl Marx's grave.
I love it.
Oh yeah, she's brilliant.
All right, so we got Mr. No. I watched a Lotus Eaters video, and they were praising Pinochet as a protector of free market. When Chile voted against the constitutional amendment, it was cringe to watch. Yeah, I can imagine. So what they're talking about is there was this...
I really do worry about Carl sometimes.
There was a constitutional amendment coming up in Chile that was a quote-unquote human rights amendment, but it was stuff like the right to free health care and, you know, that sort of stuff. And the people voted it down because, I mean, they'd been through a lot of crap like that. And so, I mean, that was just this, you know, big shock because all these, you know, progressives in power were like, why wouldn't you want free health care? But I mean, the Constitution that they were trying to amend was passed under Pinochet, but it was one of those that was passed like towards the end of his regime, and he was just trying to do what he could to cling on to power. He wasn't really a champion of the free market reforms. People just didn't, you know, give him that many choices on it. So but somehow Pinochet has gotten associated as this free market guy, and it's not. He wasn't.
Yeah, no. I'll disassociate with him in the same way I'll disassociate with Ayn Rand.
Yeah. I think I would be more comfortable associating with Ayn Rand because for all her faults, at least, you know, she had that streak in her. Pinochet, I mean, he was... What was the guy before him? Allende? I mean, he was better than the guy before him, but that's not saying a whole lot because the guy before him was really horrible.
I know some people in the server. I know some people in the server have are real big Hoppa fans. I just cannot get into Hoppa.
Well, the thing is, probably 95% of Hoppa is really good. It's just the weird stuff like the Covenant communities and all that. But the thing is, even on the stuff he's good at, he's not uniquely good. There's not anything that would drive me towards him specifically, you know, instead of just, you know, Murray Rothbard or whoever.
Yeah, everything he does right, everything he does well, someone else does better.
Yeah, exactly. Same with Ayn Rand.
Oh yeah, the follow-up to that Nexus story
Yeah.
was that a while later, someone, and I'm not sure if this was like a troll mod or if it was sincere. It's very much one of those Poe's Law things. But somebody uploaded a mod for Fallout 3 in New Vegas called NPC, no playable Caucasians.
Okay. So all of the player characters are available are people of color.
Yes.
Okay.
And I was convinced that the uploader was either a genuine racist or a brilliant troll, and I wasn't sure which.
May have just been a guy having fun.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what else has been going on. I've been hip deep in work, and
I actually caught up with I know you're probably not, you don't seem to be on great terms with them, but I got caught up with the guys from the back alley.
Okay. I mean, I was trying to keep the peace with them and everyone else for a while, but then they just kind of went over the deep end. And
I was surprised Zesso even remembered me.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't have any ill feelings towards them or anything, but I just...
From what I heard, you guys kind of split over the vaccination issue.
I don't even remember what it ended up being. I think it was related to COVID stuff, but I don't even remember.
Oh yeah, you touched on it on last week's show.
What was that?
But you touched on it on last week's show. But I was curious on your opinion on the whole Kiwi Farms situation.
Yeah, and I think it just goes back to what I said. That's the problem when you start making exceptions. You know, and they were even going and saying, "Oh well, you know, we have to stop that. We have to draw the line right now, and we have to not do any further." And then they banned Kiwi Farms, and I was trying to figure out, because they did say they would keep doing it on people who use them as their hosting provider, that they would have standards on that, but they wouldn't do it with things like the CDN and the DNS, you know, the infrastructure stuff. So I don't know if Kiwi Farms was an actual customer of theirs, or if they just shut the site off like they did Daily Stormer. I haven't been able to find that out. But it's just why you can't take that step even once, because it just makes it harder and harder, you know, for it to do it the next time. And things are starting to come out in that lawsuit that some of those state attorneys general and some others, like I know Jay Bhattacharya is one, against the federal government colluding with big tech to engage in censorship. A lot of discovery has started to come out, with a lot of emails going back and forth with, you know, the White House and all these other people. Like, well, we need to, I think even Fauci's involved. So we need to make sure you don't, you know, spread misinformation. And the social media, they're not like this mustache twirling with glee, like, yes, let's do some censoring. Their attitude is more like, no, we'll comply. Please, Mr. Government, don't hurt me. You know, so that's censorship by proxy. That's exactly what the Supreme Court said they can't do. Yeah. What happened to Kiwi Farms? They got kicked off the internet. Cloudflare shut them off. I mean, you can still access it a bunch of other ways, but not through Cloudflare, apparently. But that means the Kiwi Farms and all of the users of that site are now more susceptible to things like, hacker attacks and things like that. And isn't it just a forum? It's like a forum with a bunch of users, right?
It's a whole complicated mess.
But I mean, if it's something that users are doing, they should be protected by Section 230.
Basically, it's in a lot of controversies about like doxing and.
Yeah, apparently there's some people on there doing some mean stuff. I didn't really look into it for the specifics, but Cloudflare was like, no, we're not going to put up with that. You're gone. Why would they be more vulnerable? Because that's the whole point of a CDN, is to have an extra layer of protection between the website and the people who use it and the hackers that are trying to hack everyone. Having that, I mean, it does a lot of things. It caches the connection, it makes you more available worldwide, makes it so you can, connect locally and get a cached copy, things like that. But all of that just makes you one step further away from the hackers. So they also do a lot of things like DDoS protection and stuff like that. And then through their DNS system, they can basically stop DNS poisoning attacks, things like that. But yeah, if you're using them if they're doing that to Kiwi Farms, then maybe you want to switch your DNS over to Quad9 or someone. But that's why this stuff ultimately needs to be decentralized. And yeah, that means you're going to have to put up with some pretty nasty stuff, and that means that governments are going to have to do like actual police work to stop, doxers and, people who engage in threats and stuff like that. And none of that's good. I think we'd all like to see that go away. But if you try to censor the infrastructure, what other problems are you creating for how many more people in the process,
Reminds me of the old Simon Whistler video you debunked.
Which one? I did several of his.
Yeah, Simoncrates.
Okay, which one was that one about?
Where he talked about how life today would be without the internet.
Oh, yeah.
And you compared him rather unfavorably to Socrates.
Yeah. Yeah, because Socrates, he was kind of the cantankerous old man I was imitating earlier. Cloudflare explains why Kiwi Farms was its most dangerous customer ever. This is Ars Technica, but they are making it sound like they were an actual customer.
You kids and your darn parchments! Back in the day, we memorized everything.
Yeah, that was basically it. He did not like the written word. Only Lord Killian can make a comparison to Socrates an insult.
Yeah.
Cloudflare, this is Ars Technica. Cloudflare held out for weeks as the pressure campaign raged on social media, but then within a 48-hour period, Cloudflare noted that Kiwi Farms users were growing increasingly aggressive and had started doxing and swatting victims.
Yeah, I think the swatting was kind of
Oh, yeah. Swatting should really be called attempted murder.
Yeah.
Well, you saw some things that were really direct threats, some very specific information about things that were planned. That escalation was starting to worry us. That's what prompted us to act over the weekend. Because it was like between the time I had prepped the podcast and it had posted. That had happened. We believe there's an unprecedented emergency and immediate threat to human life, unlike what we had seen from Kiwi Farms or any other customer before. But I mean, the problem is, we covered this with Backpage. Even if all this bad stuff is going on, if you cut them off, you also cut off the ability of law enforcement to monitor it. Yeah, and track it and see what's going on and try and figure out who these people are and protect the ones they're threatening. Because it's not the case that they'll just stop doing it. They'll do it absent Cloudflare, or they'll go onto the dark web or something where it'll be harder to look at and harder to track.
The dark web's the only place you can get good quality bat meat, though.
This is talking like Kiwi Farms is an actual customer of theirs. They were hosting their site on it. So, I mean, that is a different thing than just cutting them off of the infrastructure level.
Yeah. I didn't know.
Oh, they're actually saying this is a feature. Kiwi Farms did find other infrastructure to stay online, but without security services like Cloudflare's protections, the site cannot necessarily withstand the onslaught of cyber attacks intended to block all access to the site. So yeah, just like I said, they know that. They know it's going to make them more vulnerable to attack. But I guess that's okay because they're bad people.
Yeah, let's see. What else? What else is going on?
I mean, you were talking about swatting. There have been a lot of people on the left swatting people on the right, I think, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, which, I mean, despite what you might think about her, no one deserves that. But the press is saying very little about that. They only seem to talk about it when it's the other way around. And you even had, there was a, I don't remember if it was governor or what. It wasn't like a national office or anything, I don't think. But there was this Democratic candidate running for office, and a local journalist was, gathering up all the dirt on him and publishing it. And then the journalist got murdered, and they just arrested the candidate for it. But I can't help thinking if it had been a Republican, it would have been all over the national news. See how violent they are?
That reminds me of a video Seamus Coughlin did on the Capitol Hill thing from way back.
I don't remember that one.
Remember when Antifa kind of, or was like Black Lives Matter or something, took a portion of Capitol Hill?
Oh yeah, the Chaz thing. Yeah, that wasn't the national Capitol Hill. That was in whatever state it was, at the state capital.
Minnesota, I think.
Yeah, Chaz, Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, I think it was.
And then it became Capitol Hill Organized Protest.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, because they actually wanted to invoke a guillotine metaphor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Classy guys. Classy guys. I've gotten so stupid, like the ways they were trying to plant gardens that just would not work.
Yeah, there have been some crazy. Yeah, what else has been going on?
I've been so busy, I feel like I dropped out of a lot of stuff.
So have I. I've mostly just been doing counseling week to week and some Dungeons and Dragons with my group. You might actually remember some folks from my group from if you remember back like during that weird period of the Great Hall.
The Great Hall, which was that?
Remember when I remember when like there was this whole Google Hangout group that or like it was something like Google Hangout, but that was trying to bridge the gap between different like schools of libertarianism.
Okay.
Remember my old friend Ancom?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He Esso says he's going by bread pains these days. Just kind of nice to see how everyone's doing sometimes, you know?
Yep. Oh, I guess we have the interregnum between Elizabeth II and Charles III. I'm just looking through my Google News feed just to see what we can talk about.
Yeah, I had some other stuff in mind because I was getting really interested in oh god, some of the Thomas Bogardus debates on that I was curious about. Like the one with Destiny and the one with Vaush.
Yeah.
That's basically the sort of sphere I've been in lately.
Oh, this is probably going to be cringe. This is from AP. Small nuke reactors emerge as energy option, but risks loom.
Oh my god.
And if they're talking about the Gen 3 SMR, yeah, they're talking about the SMRs. Those things are walk away safe.
The only thing I know about Gen 3 are the Sinnoh region, Palkia, Dialga, Giratina, and Arceus. Sorry, Pokemon joke.
Yeah.
I think Chris or John would get it. Rika, you remember Chris, right? Sorry, breaking the fourth wall there a bit.
That's okay, you can talk to the chat. Nuclear power also poses risks, including disposing of highly radioactive waste and keeping that technology out of the hands of rogue countries or nefarious groups that may pursue a nuclear weapons program. You can't do that with Gen 3 reactors, people! Especially SMRs. They're made specifically to avoid that.
Speaking of SMRs, I thought I'd give this a try.
Those risks have been accentuated. You knew this was going to happen. Following the shelling around Europe's largest nuclear power plant in Ukraine, which has raised fears of potential nuclear disaster. Yeah, you knew that was gonna be. Even if a disaster doesn't happen, that's gonna be like a Fukushima thing.
Hi everyone, can you hear me? I thought I would try this to see if it might be relaxing.
That's ASMR.
Oh, right, I got it mixed up.
Small modular reactor as opposed to whatever the hell ASMR stands for.
Hey, at least you got the joke I was going for.
Yeah.
I usually do the opposite when I stream on Twitch.
The opposite of what?
The opposite of ASMR.
Oh. I don't really have a good mic for that. You really need a good condenser that you can get up close to, and this is a nice dynamic mic. It's an electro voice. I love how it picks up my voice, but I love how if I want to talk low, I can get close to it. If I want to talk louder, I can move away from it, and it doesn't change the tone of my voice that much. So, not like the condensers where the basses really get cranked up as you get close to it.
Something occurred to me. Does Lord Killian need that helmet for any reason?
I think we figured out that he's a lich. He needs the suit to keep his body animated.
Oh. Huh. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Of course, he wouldn't put it in those terms. He would say, "No, it's not a lich. I just have my personality uploaded to the suit computer, and it uses quantum superstrings and extended filaments to regenerate the blah 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 blah. All sorts of the science babble. But it would basically be the science version of being a lich.
He could just be the suit, and the skeleton is actually just kind of in there.
No, I think he'd probably need the skeleton too, at least for the expressions. But sort of similar, like you have that Doctor Who episode where the skeletons were walking around, but people were still talking because their personality was in the computer. The introduction of unproven nuclear technology in the form of SMRs doesn't sit well with environmentalists. Proliferation of small reactors will exacerbate the problem of how to dispose of highly radioactive nuclear waste. You burn it. That's what you do. You use it as fuel, you idiots. I just want to be like, Ren and go, Steepy, you idiot! Whack!
You idiot! Thought I'd give it a shot. I am surprised.
The Rolls-Royce SMR would generate nuclear waste the size of a tennis court piled 1 meter high. Oh my God. No, it wouldn't. No, it
wouldn't. Where did the idea for Lord Killian come from? Someone's asking.
Sid. Yeah, it was Dapperton and I were talking about ways of just kind of boosting viewership on the channel and making things more interesting, and he had Brittle Arts do the artwork for Mr. Dapperton, and so he hooked me up with him, and we were on like this 3-way chat just talking about what the character should be and what he should be called and what he should be like and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember the few times I hung out with Dapperton, and I always kind of had a rocky relationship.
Dapperton's cool. He's just lacking in maturity in a lot of ways, and he'll be the first to say that. So I'm not talking against someone's back here.
I mean, he could be like what I remember. He was kind of shy too.
Yeah. Well, and he also doesn't do well in like live settings like this.
Oh yeah, the working memory disorder, if I remember.
Yeah, something like
that. And the last time when I
That's
talked
why
to
I could
Hoodie,
never get him on a live stream. Otherwise, I would have had him on a bunch of times.
Yeah. The last time I talked to Hoodie Demon, he seemed really chill.
Yeah, I haven't talked to him since he dropped off.
Yeah, it seems the community's really dwindled.
I think just all of the stuff just became so toxic, and I swear this last week I was just this close to deleting the Lord Killian Discord because just things happen on top of other things on top of other things, and it's like,
yeah, and everyone's we're all just getting older, Hard to keep up.
Well, no, because it's just the drama ramped up again, and
Oh yeah, I really remember being in the thick of the drama back in the day. Wait, notice
I don't really mind it when people throw off on each other. I kind of like it. Don't bring it up to the level of drama, level of, you know.
I mean, you and Dapperton riffed on it too with that Civil War short, right?
Yeah. The Anarchist Civil War. Yeah, it's like the community gets toxic, and you have, I think not only Hoodie, but also ANCAP Kid just wanted to focus on stuff like college and all that.
Oh yeah, I wonder how he's doing these days. I used to talk with him a lot too.
Yeah.
God, I should still have him on Discord somewhere.
Yeah, there's not as many people on the chat, is there? I think a lot of this is Sunday. Sunday's never been a really good night for us. Thursdays aren't so bad. I think Friday and Saturday are kind of iffy. When I've had it on a Friday or a Saturday, I've either gotten a ton of people or hardly anyone.
I should try and make it more often. I usually do better in VC settings, so I don't have to keep up with the text.
Yeah.
It can be a little difficult when I can only read like 2 words at a time.
Yeah, your disability makes that difficult.
Yeah. Oh yeah, ANCAP Kid became Atomic. I was trying to remember.
Oh yeah. Atomic ANCAP, yeah. Yeah, he dropped off to focus on college, I think.
Wow, hard to believe he's already in college. They grow up so fast.
Yeah. Any country acquiring nuclear reactors automatically enhances its capacity to make nuclear weapons. Every SMR could produce around 10 bombs worth of plutonium each year. All they would have to do is tell the International Atomic Energy Agency to stop inspections, as Iran has done, for example. Oh, give it up on the Iran thing, people!
Hey, at least they haven't said the C word yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rika, I forgot I used to drag you along to streams. Do you remember when she would come on occasionally?
You dropped out a second. I don't know what you're talking about.
I remember when I used to drag Rika onto the streams with me.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
I'm not sure how much you remember.
Yeah, I remember. Let's see, you'd think nuclear weapons would have been a good anti-war deterrent. That's why they don't want them to. They want, we want to be the only one with nukes. We want to be the only one with nukes. So we can threaten everyone else.
I tell you, everyone having nukes just makes me mad.
Yeah.
Sorry, bad joke. Really bad joke.
But I mean, it's just like the U.S. and everyone else put sanctions on Russia so no one can trade with Russia. No one can trade with Russia. And Russia said, okay, we're not going to trade anyone. We're stopping exports. Oh, Russia is weaponizing the economy, I think is what they said. It's like... So when Russia does it with their own trade, they're weaponizing the economy, but everyone else does it with Russia, they're applying to third-party countries even, they're applying sanctions.
Always double standards. Always effing double standards.
Yep. All right, my Twidget stopped keeping up with the chat for some reason.
You know, this is fun. It's nice and chill just doing it.
Yeah.
Kind of low-key and quiet.
It is
I might
nice.
be talking a little slow. I I took some stuff before we started to
That's
help
cool.
me relax, you know?
Yeah, be chill.
That's actually what my D&D's group, when I told them I took that kind of stuff, were like, yeah, that makes so much sense. Because I just had that reputation there. And
I just make sure my pain management is kind of kicked in nicely, so I can go the 2 hours.
Yeah,
and otherwise sitting in one place this long would not be something I would like doing.
And while I'm on the subject, shout out to Pedro, Stella, Fox Guy, Evan, and everybody else in the group.
Okay.
You probably won't watch this, but
But it's the thought that counts.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we've talked about the birth rate thing before.
I don't know too much about the birth rate thing.
Basically, from what anyone can figure out, there's kind of a sweet spot. So, like, you have, if there are, like, for most of human history, you've got poverty and you've got, families having zillions of kids, just to try and, make sure enough of them survive to keep and that's how it is in poor countries and developing countries and things like that. Well, if you get too much of a developed city where everyone's really all crowded together, it can go the other way and people have fewer children. They talk about replacement fertility, where every couple has 2 children. In an ideal economic condition where everyone has good economic wealth and good access to everything, that's what you have is replacement fertility. In cases where it's like impoverished, you have more than 2 kids, and in places where you're just jam-packed together into a city and all the services are centralized and everything else, you get the lower birth rates. I mean, the Sahara wouldn't be a bad place for it, or any desert like that, because you get a lot of sunlight, but you also don't have to worry about snow and ice on the solar panel, and you also don't have to worry about like the land use stuff, which is really big with solar. If there's this vast areas of land that are unused.
By the way, does anyone know where I can get black market organs? Asking for a friend.
I don't know, I think there's some underground music stores if you know where to look. See what I did there?
Damn it. It reminds me of one time back when I used to go to church. There was this streaker, right?
Yeah.
And he was a slippery one, but eventually they caught him by the organ.
Oh, I guess they call him the streak. But people are seeing the problem with solar panels. I mean, just last year alone, Amazon finally reported that, because they've been putting rooftop solar on, and it was like, I think in over a third of the places where they installed rooftop solar, the panels spontaneously combusted.
California is doing enough to show the problems with electric.
Yeah. Oh my God. They're telling people not to charge electric cars. That's crazy.
Maybe if you made
the problem is just the limitations and the side effects of photovoltaics. If they were to set up something like solar salt, where instead of having solar voltaics, you have an array of mirrors concentrating it on a heating element and use the heating element to heat up molten salts. They got a few of those in China. I think Spain has a couple.
It'd be nice if we got some solar frickin' roadways. That brings me back. Sorry, I make a lot of callbacks.
As a retired engineer, I'm convinced that the bipolar nature of our society has root cause, and that causes only vote for one. And I guess he's talking about like the winner take all plurality. Everyone must pick a tribe and be Democrat or Republican. Let us vote yes or no for every candidate. Yeah, approval voting would be a good way to go about it, and you wouldn't have all the problems.
I've seen
like we just saw, choice. I forget where it was. There was a place where they had ranked choice voting, and it did not work out that well.
I know it was implemented in Maine.
What, approval voting or ranked choice?
Ranked choice. I'm not familiar with approval voting. Could you fill me in?
Well, okay, so with ranked choice, you give everyone a number and then it's ranked, and properly doing it, you use the Condorcet method, but they didn't do it in their dumb ways of doing that. But approval voting, like instead you got like the ovals next to each candidate, but you can only fill out one. With approval voting, you can fill out as many as you want. So if there are like 3 candidates, instead of just being able to fill out the one, you can fill them out for 2 if the third guy you just don't really like, but you don't really have the other 2. And then you just total up the votes. And
that makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
It would be a huge blow against the stupid spoiler argument.
Yeah. I think it would be risky because of the political situation in many countries in the Sahara. I mean, it's not a good area politically. But technologically, I think solar salts would do really well.
The Sahara actually does actually import sand.
I guess it all depends on what kind of sand you mean, because...
Yeah, because there's like certain types of sand that are better for building.
Yeah.
That the Sahara just doesn't have.
Yeah, and it depends on like what the rocks are made out of, what kind of erosion it is. I mean, you go to just the hardware store and, say I want sand, and they'll point to the aisle, and there's all sorts of different kinds of sand, based on, the grit size and what it's made of and stuff like that. And, so it's just different kinds of sand for different stuff. Remote solar has too much transition loss to be effective. Well, that's why you keep it as heat. Don't try to turn it into, electricity on site. Just turn it into heat. Grab the heat of the sun, and then just pipe the heat off to wherever you want it, and then do whatever you want to with the heat. You can turn it into electricity or use it to, like if you've got a factory that's, forging and it needs to, be able to melt iron, you just run the heat through that and use it to heat the forge or whatever.
This is starting to sound like a Sunny D commercial.
That's also a good thing to use for nuclear, because nuclear reactors don't produce electricity. They produce heat, and you have to turn the heat into electricity. But nuclear reactors are constant. It's like the exact opposite problem with solar. The sun doesn't shine at night, and it can get cloudy, and you can have snow on your solar panels and all sorts of stuff. So it just goes up and down all over the place. Nuclear is the opposite. It's constant, but people don't use electricity constantly. They're using a lot in the day, and then they turn off everything at night, and the usage goes down and stuff like that. So for either technology, or even both of them combined together, a molten salt loop is a great way to deal with that. Because you just use the molten salt to store the heat and then draw the heat off as you need it. I heard we don't have much uranium supplies to last us for long. You think it's a legitimate concern? Well, first of all, I think we got a few centuries of uranium. And second, for the most part, the uranium gets converted into plutonium, americium, I think protactinium, things like that. And those are like the high-level waste everyone's freaking out about. But that's still fuel. Burn that. Grab that as fuel and burn it. And, I mean, everyone's going crazy about proliferation, but think about how important, especially this year, we're seeing how important energy as an energy independence and things like that. And if you've got a country that are thinking, okay, we can have nukes that will just piss everyone off and we probably won't even use, and if we did, it would be really bad, and whatever, advantages we have will be outweighed by a lot of disadvantages and whatever. Or we could use nuclear power, instead of making it into weapons, make it into reactors and just use that and get all of the benefits from the energy and not having to deal, with other countries with, the crap they're doing about energy. That's got to be more attractive even for a government. And that's exactly Iran's position. They're like, nuclear weapons won't do us any good. We want nuclear power. And yes, Iran did let in the weapons inspectors, and the weapons, they don't have a weapons program. But you gotta have someone to fearmonger about.
You do?
Yeah, because if you're a government, what else are you gonna do? Because everything you do sucks and fails and is terrible. Yeah, you gotta have someone to blame.
I was trying to go for a joke on my inflection. I should make an avatar to come on with Lord Killian sometime. I told Rika I'd make one to stream with her, but...
Roberts pushes back against critics questioning Supreme Court's legitimacy.
I mean, we should be questioning their legitimacy constantly.
Well, that with all government, but they're saying, it's horrible that they can stop, a democracy from doing the horrible things that democracies do. So criticizing the court's decisions is entirely appropriate, good, because I'm going to keep doing it, but argued that simply because people disagree with opinions is not a basis for questioning the legitimacy of the court. If the court doesn't retain its legitimate function of interpreting the Constitution, I'm not sure who would take up that mantle. Yep, it's not like either of the other branches are doing that. You don't want the political branches telling you what the law is, and you don't want public opinion to be the guide about what the appropriate decision is. Which is exactly the fate that they sealed when they started protesting and showing up on Kavanaugh's front yard and things like that. Because they don't even want to be seen as, having the appearance of having caved into public opinion.
They made their bed. They can lie in it.
Roberts launched an investigation shortly after the leak occurred in May, calling it a singular and egregious breach of that trust that is an affront to the court and the community of public servants who work here. I think the main thing is the assumption is that the Supreme Court's not a political branch too. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. They're very political. The barricades around the Supreme Court have been removed. I wonder how many people just relying on the news media knew they even put up barricades. And added the public will be allowed to attend the court's arguments again when its next term begins on October 3rd. They will deal with such contentious issues as affirmative action, environmental regulations, and religious liberty. Centuries worth is this taking into account the extra consumption it will take if the global economy switches to nuclear? I think probably, yeah. Yeah, especially if you can, reuse the fuels, if you get fast reactors and breeder reactors and things like that. And then, of course, there's thorium. If you get thorium reactors going, that'll help a lot. I don't know. That's on the Hill anyway. I have questions about them. Yes, I've used them as a source on the podcast, but I don't really have that many good ones to work with. And the way I select them for the podcast is I try to find something that's covered like 3 or 4 different ways in different medias where they're not all using the same source. And then I just kind of pick the one that seems to have, the more comprehensive quotes and everything else I want to reference. Don't consider any of those to be any kind of endorsement on my part of how good an outlet they are.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to go where the information is.
Yep. And just keep your baloney detection kit active. Oh, God, CNN. Why a woman's doctor warned her not to get pregnant in Texas. I'm not even going to look at that one.
Oh, no. Boy.
Should I search for something? You remember that time we did the search for Florida woman? Or Florida man, whatever that was.
Yeah, the Florida man stuff.
We did Florida man, and then we did Florida woman, and we found some pretty great Florida women, like the woman who defended her and her kids from 3 attackers using an AK-47.
Oh yeah, I remember a filthy heretic insisted they had to be time travelers.
The Atlantic. We may never know how vast the cosmos really are. Atlantic, cosmos is singular. It should be how vast the cosmos really is. Do they think like, what is it, 1 cosmo, 2 cosmos? Is that how they're...
Well, I mean, that's how you would order it at the bar.
Yeah. Tons of stuff about Elizabeth. Two arrested in California after cache of illegal material to manufacture ghost guns recovered. That kind of relates to a story I just did in the podcast.
Oof.
It has never been against the law to make your own firearm. That sounds like one the Supreme Court's going to have to step in on.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of, how is that Missouri v. Biden going? Is it still going, or was it settled?
I don't know. I'd have to check.
Because I was curious about that, and a friend of mine, oddly enough, also named Shane, was interested.
About 200 ghost gun frames, handgun slides, 2 assault weapons, a rifle, firearms, magazines, ammunition, and numerous parts and tools for manufacturing ghost guns. Ghost guns, which are untraceable self-assembled firearms, are often put together with parts sold online. And in April, were the subject of new regulations announced by the Biden administration, which the lower court just smacked that down. Because according to the law, a firearm is either a completely assembled firearm, or it can refer just to the frame or receiver, or anything that can, readily be made into it as a completed part, like an 80% lower would count. But they just greatly expanded it way beyond what Congress authorized them to do. Basically, they just made up their own law.
It seems like they're making up making up definitions that allow them to do things.
Well, they've been able to, that's what they've been doing. Like, that's what they did with assault weapon. There's no such thing as an assault weapon. They just made that up.
Or the social contract.
Yeah.
The way Leanna puts it, it was the government asking for a permission structure to do things they wanted to do anyway.
One of the arrested men was booked for manufacturing assault weapons. Oh, one of them was an immigrant. Oh, that makes it bad, really bad. The immigrants get guns. At an old mill in Littleton, gun dealers openly defy Mara Healy's assault weapons ban. I don't know who Mara Healy is. Oh, don't get me that's behind a paywall.
Hey. These ad bilkers.
Yeah. Why don't they just admit that they're dying? Because if you have to do a paywall on the internet, you're doing something wrong. I mean, it's okay, like, if you're like, okay, we're paying for extra content or something, but just to view the site, no.
Well, that, and there was this whole scare campaign about, like, your information being sold online, which kind of was used to argue for popularizing, like, paying to access websites.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, they do that too. Andy Davis is wondering why socialists get more views on YouTube, because they're manipulative bastards.
That, and it seems like they'll often get help from the algorithm.
Yeah, that's true too. Well, because my latest Lord Killian video got an impressions click-through rate of over 9%. That is phenomenal. Normally I get like, between 5 and 7%, and most channels say they do good to get 3%, but even with that low of an impressions click-through, they're still getting like 2/3 to 4/5 of their views through impressions, like either showing up on the front page or in related views or something like that. I've got this amazing impressions click-through rate, but it's like less than 1/3 of my views mostly. That can only mean that my videos aren't showing up as often, and things like, related videos and things like that. So yeah, that's pretty much statistical proof that I'm being shadow banned. Deranked. Delisted.
Hey, you're at least a B rank in my book.
Oh, you're pretty rank yourself.
No, I started ranking my relationships based on various factors. I only have like 3 S ranks, so.
Oh god, they're going to try to do another Indiana Jones movie? After how bad Crystal Skull was.
Don't look at me. I'm still mad about Temple of Doom.
Elon Musk's latest reason to drop Twitter deal, whistleblower payment. Failing to seek his consent before paying the whistleblower provides another reason to break the merger. A termination letter sent to Twitter accused the firm of not informing him about a multi-million-dollar severance payment it made in June to departing security chief Peter Zatko, who went on to file a whistleblower complaint. I covered that on the podcast. Failing to seek his consent before paying Zatko provides another legal basis to break the merger deal.
Yeah, it's a shame.
I mean, Twitter has been nothing but duplicitous throughout that whole thing.
Yeah, I was honestly hoping there would be a good chance for an improvement for Twitter. But
at least the fact that even if the sale doesn't go through, the threat of it might get him to shape up, but apparently not. Maura Healey is the Attorney General and gubernatorial candidate for Massachusetts. So, yeah, figures if it's screwed up, it's from Massachusetts. It's one of those states. Just everything bad seems to come from it. Taxachusetts, as they call it. Unsurprisingly, many Tesla owners don't think full self-driving is worth $15,000. Yeah, that is crazy, but it's still in beta as well. I don't know what the price will be when it comes out. Europe's newest nuclear reactor eases Finland's power problems. That's good.
Oh, some good news for a change.
Yeah. And I also heard that Germany was reconsidering their decision to shut down those last 2 reactors, considering the power crisis they're in. Transpod wants to build FluxJet, a train-plane hybrid that goes 620 miles an hour. That's one of those Hyperloop companies.
That's way more than 88 miles.
Samsung's data breach is why you shouldn't have to sign into smart TVs. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Was that Tech Radar? Yeah. That's a good one.
Why am I the one who makes all the old man jokes on these streams? I do wonder about that. Sorry.
In most cases, you can do all this stuff straight out of the box. In other instances, you're required to create an online account with a manufacturer where you supply your name, email address, date of birth, zip code, and other personal information on Samsung TVs. I was surprised to discover that a personal account had to be created to simply download a streaming app like Hulu. I don't even think you have to do that on Roku. You just download it.
Yeah. Wait, a personal account on... You have to download a personal account on what to access streaming?
You had to create a personal account on your Samsung TV in order to download the Hulu app.
Yeah, some things do that. I think the Amazon Fire TV does that.
Well, that makes sense because you're using Amazon services, and so you're signing into Amazon. But this is Hulu, which would mean you would sign into Hulu, but why would you have to sign in to the Samsung TV just to download Hulu?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Why is having to create a personal account to make full use of a Samsung such a problem? On September 2nd, the company posted a blog entry stating that it had suffered a data breach affecting U.S. customers. Compromised name, contact and demographic information, date of birth, and product registration information.
And that's why you should get a strong password with LastPass.
Yeah, that doesn't really protect you on that because that's just the information they put in their database and they didn't properly encrypt it.
Oh, damn it. So much for that.
Yeah. I mean, the password just stops them from hacking your account, but if they grab the database and get everyone's personal information, your password has nothing to do with that.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Other major TV brands, such as LG and Vizio, don't require that you input personal information to carry out basic tasks. Though they do require accounts to access more advanced features, such as creating multiple viewer profiles. This isn't the first time the company has experienced a major cybersecurity lapse. I have a simple solution to this problem for Samsung and other TV makers. Don't expect viewers to create an account to use your smart TVs. That way, if you do experience a data breach, your customers won't have to go scrambling to check out their credit report. Instead, they can just Netflix and chill as they should be doing.
Yeah.
And I mean, after all this time and how easy it has become, to secure things, and how much the information is basically out there for free, and how many people there are you can hire who know how to do all that, it's
There's
just
really not any
inexcusable.
excuse.
Yeah,
There's no excuse.
Other than they just don't want to pay the money to do it.
I actually need to talk to some friends on a web design deal about this whole security matter.
Yep. Design insecurity from the start. That's the way to do it. It's not some extra thing you add on. It's part of the design. Chroma light for superior green screens. People, do not waste your money on that stuff. The hardware paint is fine. I'm going through sports now. I don't care about sports.
Yeah, sports is just meh. If anyone has anything to suggest we take a look at.
Yep. Just put it in the chat. I'm just still kind of scrolling down.
Just put whatever in the chat and we'll see about getting to it.
Rocket Lab to conduct first private mission to Venus. That'd be interesting. Oh, that's wrong. Rocket Lab, a launch company that is rapidly becoming a competitor to SpaceX, is taking cheap robotic space exploration one step forward. They're sending a probe to search for life in the upper atmosphere of Venus.
Hope that goes well. Gotta find intelligent life on one of these planets.
So their idea is you probably wouldn't have life on the surface because of the extreme temperatures and, the sulfuric acid and all that. But 50 kilometers above the surface, it's actually kind of nice. It's actually kind of temperate. It's like the, normal Earth temperatures and blue skies and everything. It doesn't have oxygen, but life existed on this planet for something like 3 billion years without oxygen.
Wait, you said above or below the surface?
Above.
Yeah. So
where
less
the pressure's lower, the temperature's lower, and yeah.
So less Ryloth and more Cloud City.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking microbial life here, probably, but. Recently, scientists thought they had detected phosphine in the upper atmosphere of Venus. Phosphine is a gas that is only created in nature by microbes. The discovery sparked speculation that microbes trapped in droplets of water are floating 50 kilometers above the surface of Venus. Of course, there could be a natural explanation for it, too. Something those amazingly high temperatures are doing that just kind of drift up. But the way you find out for sure is doing a probe, and that's what they're doing. And there just haven't been that many Venus probes. Even if the VLF does not find life in the upper atmosphere of Venus, just putting the probe where it needs to be to look for it will open up all sorts of possibilities for Rocket Lab and any other company that cares to take advantage of them.
Let's see. I think something went up there.
I think I scrolled down so far, Google News is just giving me random stuff. I'll have to see what else I can look at.
Come on, guys. Bring us something good on the chat.
Yeah, chat, what do you want us to talk about? Let's see. I wonder when Cuba will abandon communism. Well, apparently it's not up to the people. It's just the Castros out of power for one. What reason things have been uploaded to Odyssey?
Yeah, this dead air is why I think it would be real fun to bring in another Lion's Den guest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we can get like 2 or 3 people in here, it's usually good. And
yeah.
If it's just one other person, it tends to be kind of dead.
Now
it's still early in the month. We could do another one if people want.
Yeah. I'll make sure to be there. I'll do my best to make sure I can be there then. Because I've missed this.
Oh, they're talking about Steve Bannon being arrested. Everyone is just blasting Rings of Power and She-Hulk. I haven't watched either of those.
I have only heard one person say anything good about She-Hulk.
Well, Tim Pool was kind of iffy on it. He said there were some things about it that he really liked, but it still wasn't like this glowing recommendation.
I just can't get into anything new just the same preachy crap.
Sandman is really good on Netflix. They're doing a good job with that. I think we're like 5 episodes in.
I've heard conflicting stuff on Sandman.
I really like it, and I like the comics, so this is coming from... I mean, they're going in a little bit of a different direction with things, but still.
I just figured I'd look at the motion comics. Yeah. Motion comics are actually...
You always have the comics. They're still great.
Motion comics are actually a really good way to make comics accessible for people.
Are comics doing anything more with, like, you know, the interactive stuff where you have the comic and you go page by page, but then you have, you know, options for how the story branches and stuff like that?
Not that I know, but yeah. I do not really follow Western comics at all.
I mean, there's this whole internet community about visual novels that are made specifically for that format. But I didn't know if any of the comic people were doing that.
Wait, visual novels or graphic novels? Different.
Well, see, I'm talking about the visual novel, but if people who were making graphic novels online started using some of the visual novel technology.
Because I could tell you a lot about some of the visual novels I've played.
Okay.
One of my favorites is the Zero Escape trilogy, starting with 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors.
Okay.
Another one I've recently been playing is a classic known as Higurashi When They Cry. And of course, on the more linear side, you have and its two spin-off series, Great Ace Attorney and Ace Attorney Investigations.
It just seems to me, I haven't really gotten into visual novels, but it just seems to me like the technology that they have, as simple as it is, but as much as it can do, I would think more people would be employing that.
Well, they're basically really similar to a genre you might actually be pretty familiar with. Old school like Sierra or LucasArts adventure games.
Oh yeah, those are always good. Oh, I got started on Adventure and Zork and all those Infocom games where there were no graphics, you just had to type in everything you were doing.
Oh yeah, classic text adventures.
It is dark. It is dark. You are likely to be eaten by a grue.
How about Monkey Island or Loom?
I don't remember either of those. I loved Bureaucracy, Hitchhiker's Guide, Leather Goddesses of Phobos. Okay, what was the other one?
Well, that one just sounds terrifying. And strangely arousing.
Yep, that pretty much sums up the game. Terrifying and strangely arousing.
Sorry, I may have cost this stream its monetization.
Okay, I was wondering if y'all can talk more on private roads, police, firemen, and I agree with the ANCAPs. I'd just like a bit more details. Well, I think with fire departments, it wouldn't be that much different, only instead of paying your taxes to a local fire department, a lot of it would probably, I think, be done by the
community, like it used to be.
Well, I was thinking a lot of it would be done by homeowners insurance because, I mean, if you've got, insurance on the building and they're going to pay out in case something happens, you have a fire, you lose your home, and the insurance company pays out. I can imagine like the insurance company giving you a discount if you, have services with the fire company with a nice high rating or something like that, and they could compete on that basis.
Yeah. And as far as like other stuff like the police and such, I can't really get behind a single model because I think different models are just going to work better for different people.
Yeah, but I mean, we've seen things like that implemented before where a community has decided, all right, screw you, we're not doing your police, we're going to hire our own police. And they ended up being cheaper and much more effective, and
yeah,
because they were actually patrolling, they were actually there, they weren't wasting time beating people up because they had a plant, and they were actually patrolling and keeping the community safe,
or harassing an elderly black fireman.
Yeah,
if you remember that story.
Oh, there was another one like that recently. What was it? Was like an elderly black preacher was in front of the church watering the plants, and they arrested him for watering the plants.
Seriously?
Yeah, I forget where this was, but it violated some kind of water ordinance or something like that.
Yeah, I remember we had this whole case where, like, it was you, me, and Hawkeye going on about it. Like, this guy who got stopped for having his butt cheeks clenched.
I don't remember that one. You'd think I would remember that one.
And you were going on about it, I
mean, if it was Hawkeye, that would have been a long time ago. So.
Yeah, you were going on about it, saying that like the guy who was pulled over was basically raped.
I don't remember that one.
I wonder how Hawkeye's doing these days.
Occasionally he'll swing in and say hi, and then I don't know what he's doing though.
I've talked to him on and off over the years.
Yeah. Let's see, private roads. Roads were private pretty much up until, I think for the most part, like the 20s or something, the 1920s, just in the last 100 years or so. Before then, they were pretty much all private with some exceptions. And just roads were like, made by communities and just kind of spontaneously happen, and then government declared eminent domain over all of them.
And then they took credit for always having done it.
Yep. But yeah, it's amazing how many times, you're discussing people and they bring up the roads and they just hit you over the head with the roads. Then you kind of make the roads into a meme. It's like, but what about the roads and stuff like that? And then they just attack you. It's like, no one ever says that. Why are you making up straw men? It's like, what are you talking about? We get that all the time.
You've made these exact arguments to us for decades.
And then you make a response to it, and then all of a sudden, we never said that. Shut up.
Absolute sophistry.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think there's not that much to talk about because the idea of, how would they work is just going to depend on whatever entrepreneurs can come up with. I mean, you put entrepreneurial minds to solving problems like that, and you're going to see all sorts of different solutions. Public transit before the government took over. Just look at the New York subway. You had multiple subway companies, and they did things like they would allow free transfers, from the other company, figuring they'd make the money back on the trip back.
Now the subway can't even make its concession stands profitable.
Yeah, I think that was actually Amtrak that was losing money on snack bars. Now, could you imagine if passenger trains weren't a government monopoly? I mean, I've looked into it. It's like, hey, I want to go somewhere. The plane ticket is this much, but would it be cheaper to take the train? And the train would be Amtrak would be just as expensive, if not more so, and take like 2 days to get there. I mean, what if we actually had private companies that could? Because, I mean, they don't seem to have problems getting cargo trains around everywhere. Cargo trains are private, and they go around all over the place.
Though our early rails were pretty heavily corporatist, if I recall.
Well, I mean, there were a lot of things back and forth with them, but there wasn't that much in the way of protectionism, so it didn't last long. But I mean, yeah, you had different companies providing passenger rail all over the place, and then I'm not sure when, but at some point government said, no, Amtrak's going to be the only one. Yet another monopoly that the people who hate monopolies so much don't complain about. So what plan do we have to rid ourselves of government? I think it's just...
It's only a matter of time, honestly.
Well, I think if we just build out the alternatives.
Oh, yeah.
Like using cryptocurrency instead of government money and things like that. If we can build out viable alternatives to government, people just slowly realize that government's obsolete. We don't need it anymore if we ever did.
Classic counter-economics. Of course, they'll do everything they can.
Not even counter-economics. Just not even doing it like in the dark. Just doing alternatives out in the open.
Of course, they'll do everything they can to get in our way.
Yeah.
That's how it's always been.
Yeah, because they're saying like, oh, yeah, cryptocurrency is about money laundering and, paying for hitmen and stuff like that.
What about corgis now?
Oh, I think he's talking about the Queen's corgis.
The Queen being dead and like on 11-12 day break. Yeah.
I'm not sure what she's talking about there.
Yeah. Yeah, something about the Queen's corgis.
I thought she didn't have the corgis anymore. I thought she got some different ones.
Huh. It seems like corgis are kind of a royal family tradition.
Let's look that up. Queen's dogs.
They might direct you to dogs in New York.
The royal corgis, what would happen to the Queen's beloved dogs?
Neat.
They're now with the Duke and Duchess of York.
It seems like they should go to some nobility in Wales.
Okay, there are 2 corgis, 1 Cocker Spaniel, and 1 Dorgie, a Dachshund Corgi mix.
Oh God, I can't even imagine what that would look like.
Dachshunds are not fun dogs to own.
Oh yeah, my aunt and my cousin always had dachshunds. I tell you who are great dogs, though. They're kind of big, but Labradoodles and Golden Doodles.
Uh-huh.
Do you prefer big dogs or little dogs?
I like lap dogs. I might not get one quite as small as Frodo next time, but...
What kind of dog is Frodo?
Chihuahua. You've seen him.
Aw. Oh, yeah, it's probably been ages. Chihuahuas are... I've had some experience with Chihuahuas. They can be kind of unfriendly to newcomers.
But no, he's just really sweet. He's not like normal Chihuahuas. I mean, he's a rescue, so that might have something to do with it.
Is he a short hair or long hair?
Short hair. I mean, I wouldn't mind another small dog, like a Papillon or something like that. But, even if it's something like a Pekingese or something like that.
Maybe a Yorkshire?
Something along that size. Maybe a Yorkie. Not a Scotty. Those are very temperamentals.
Yeah, because our neighbor had a Yorkie for several years. Take these very small steps all over the yard. And it was just so funny to look at because he was like this old man patrolling the...
There's a 10-day break after, like a holiday? Everyone gets a 10-day holiday, or? Only ever had pugs. Pugs just don't live long. 8 years and they're at the end. Frodo, the vet said when we got him he was probably 2 years old. And that was in 2011. So he's probably around 13 now, but he's doing really well. So hopefully we'll have him a few more years. I mean, he's slowing down in his old age, but not much. He's still got that kind of playful puppy attitude, just not quite as much energy.
Yeah, Rika, I remember you having an American bully.
An American bull? Who are you talking to?
Rika.
Oh.
We've talked a lot about her dogs in the past.
Yeah. Well, there's just something about a dog you can have on your lap or with you in the bed or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Dog in the bed is great. I remember... trying to remember.
Mistress Boxer, that would have been interesting.
Wait, is that Chloe or Chaos? Those are her dog's names.
Yeah, I figured. Chloe is Pitbull mixed with Boxer, possibly, and Chaos is the American Bully. That's what the person who got him from said anyway.
Yeah, I always forget. It's been a while since I've gotten a refresher on that detail.
The dog I had before, Frodo Europa, she was all mixed up. She had all sorts of breeds in her. She lived for 14 years, was really healthy, and then got liver cancer, and that was like in the last 6 weeks of her life, and it went downhill fast.
Yeah, my golden retriever, Max, lived to see 13, and then we just kind of had to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like to talk about it. Sorry.
It's hard to do, but at the same time, it's hard not to do when they're suffering like that.
Yeah. I always forget about Jackie.
Yeah, Ropey was so miserable there at the end. I just wanted it to happen, just to end, because there was nothing else we could do for her.
Okay, Nazi Germany and the USSR. How did they differ, and how were they the same?
They were probably more similar than they were different, really. Because, I mean, when you look at like the Nazi policies and the whatever it is, the 25 points and all that, they're pretty much talking about the same thing as Lenin and Stalin.
Wait. Oh, wait. What do you not want me to tell Dot now? Oh, Dot's a friend of mine.
Oh.
Also, Rika, you should know better. It's Dot with Dot doesn't. Dot is lowercase.
I was wondering if it was maybe Dot with 2 T's, cousin Dot.
No, Dot's.
Like cousin it on the Addams Family. It is spelled with 2 T's.
Yeah, Dot's an old friend of Rika's, and kind of by extension, a friend of mine now. Oh,
when they did the movies, they weren't spelling it right. They spelled it with 1 T because it has 2 T's.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
The basically the hairball with glasses and the bowler.
Oh yeah, I see what you're getting at now, Rika. Yeah, Dot would not want to hear that.
What's her last name? Com?
I don't know. I don't know much about Dot. Rika knows more. Dot is actually short for Peridot in this case.
I was making a joke, the .com. That could happen.
Yeah, Dot's a nickname, short for Peridot.
Yeah. Usually it's a nickname for Dorothy. But... Gorbachev just died here recently, didn't he?
Huh.
Didn't he just die earlier this year? He lived a long time.
He lived to see them start to build the wall again.
Yeah. I thought I tore that thing down.
God.
I mean, not that I'm excusing Russia's behavior in any way, but how is everything the West is doing with Ukraine not completely reprehensible?
I have been staying out of it.
Probably for the best.
I just do not have the energy for all this anymore. It's probably why you haven't really heard much from me lately.
Yeah.
But it's just nice to catch up with friends sometimes, so, you know.
You know, that was weird. I was scrolling through all those stories. I didn't see anything on Ukraine other than the power plant thing. Let's see if I search for Ukraine. What do I get? If you don't hear much, it probably means that it's going badly for Ukraine because they don't want to admit that Russia is actually making progress.
Kind of reminds me about how in Square in 1981, nothing happened, nothing at all. I know that's a joke from something.
Western arms production to ramp up as Ukraine burns through stockpiles. Yeah. Most of these are always, yeah, Ukraine is mighty, but not really having much substance.
Rika, you're not really one to talk. You're most of the reason I got tired of hearing anything about.
Oh, God. It is just crazy how just insane people went about Trump, both for and against. It was like...
Yeah, either you had these cultish worshippers, people who basically thought he was the Antichrist.
I mean, he wasn't great, but damn, he wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it just got exhausting to hear all of them.
Obama did a lot more to damage race relations than Trump did. Ukraine humiliating Putin as Russians flee and retreat. Yeah, we've heard that one before.
I didn't pay attention to the news. Most of what I heard was...
You cut out.
I don't remember hearing anything. I didn't pay attention to the news. Most of what I heard on the daily was from you, Rika.
Funny that he didn't start another war. Yeah, I think he's like the first president since I don't even remember who, maybe Carter, who didn't get us embroiled into yet another war. Carter almost did with Canada. That was a shit fest.
Why haven't we annexed Canada yet?
Counting Russia's staggering losses 200 days into Ukraine war. Yeah, see, they're all like that. It's just... Russian nationalists rage after stunning setback in Ukraine.
SPC 244. I've been an ANCAP for quite a few years now. I've really lost count. But it was actually Lord Hawkeye who convinced me to take that step. And it was Shane who directed me to Lord Hawkeye, so...
So by extension,
yes.
I take the credit.
Yes.
Oh, I think a lot of Canadians would welcome after everything Justin Trudeau is doing.
The blackface guy?
The what?
The blackface guy?
Oh, yeah. There was that blackface scandal with him. Yeah, this is all either cheering on Ukraine or fear-mongering about the power plant. I'm going to guess that means it's not going as well for Ukraine as everyone was hoping.
Bagged milk. That just sounds hard to work with.
Yeah. All right. 10 o'clock, I guess. Unless anyone's got any parting shots you want to talk about.
Nothing really. If anyone hasn't already, please feel free to like and subscribe.
Goddamn, I want Trudeau gone, but I don't want someone similar or worse. Well, I think the opposition, the main opposition, is Jagmeet Singh, and he's basically every bit as bad as Trudeau from what I've seen.
But yeah, Shane, I'll send out your information. Like, do you want me to send it to the Bogosity server or the Lord Killian server?
Yeah, but Bogosity's probably better. It's a much more low key server, not as many people on it, so it's
easier to like get acclimated to.
Yeah.
And I'll send her your information. Tell her. I'll relay everything you said. So,
and if you'd like to get on the Bogosity Discord, you can go to discord.bogosity.tv. You can become a supporter at Patreon and Subscribestar and get special access to secret rooms. And of course, the live streams. That's how you can join here. I do one every month. I might do another one. This was one that's kind of low key and relaxed, and I like it, but I might do another one just to see if we can get some more people in here, have some more fun.
I'll make sure to make the live streams more often.
Yeah,
it'll be fun. Hope you didn't mind having me today.
Oh no, it was great. Great to catch up.
Really was.
Yeah, look forward to having you on more of these.
Give my best to Heather and the kids.
All right, I will do so. Thank you so much, and thanks everyone in the chat. Thanks everyone who watched. Until next time, stay strong and be free.